The path home through the whispering woods was very, very dark. Not a scary dark, not a monster under the bed dark, but a deep, hushy, shadowy dark, where the tall pine trees stood like quiet giants and the moon sprinkled only little bits of light between their branches. And on this dark path, there was a knight. His name was Sir Clatter. Sir Clatter was not like other knights who might ride grand horses or wear silent, shiny armor. Oh no. Sir Clatter's armor was a friendly, bumpy, clanky suit that jingled and jangled with every single step he took. If Sir Clatter walked, his knees went clink clank. If he turned his head, his helmet went wobble wobble ting. And most of all, if Sir Clatter tried to be sneaky or quiet, his whole suit would suddenly go crash bang clatter as he tripped over a tiny pebble or his own 2 feet. That is how he got his name. He clattered wherever he went. On this evening, Sir Clatter was feeling a little less brave than usual. The path was so dark and his little cottage with its warm, glowing fireplace felt very far away. He took a step, clink. He took another step, clank. His heart was beating a soft, thumpy rhythm in his chest, not from running, but from feeling a little bit alone in the big, quiet woods. He wished for a loud, bright, obvious kind of help. He wished for a giant, friendly dragon to swoop down with a torch in its mouth to light the entire path. He wished for a trumpeter to appear and play a brave song so loud it would push the shadows away. But the woods remained quiet and the path remained dark. All he had was his own clanky, clattery self. Sir Clatter took a brave breath that made his chest plate go creak. He decided he would be a brave knight and marched straight home. He took 3 big, confident steps, clink, clank, clunk. But on the 4th step, his boot found not the hard dirt path, but a soft, slippery patch of moss. His feet went out from under it. His arms wheeled in the air like windmills, and his armor began to shout a terrible, noisy song. Rattle, crash, bang, boom, Sir Clatter landed with a final great clatter right on the soft, mossy ground. He was not hurt, for the moss was like a fluffy green blanket, but he was stuck. His round metal body was like a little turtle on its back. He wiggled his legs, clank, clank. He wiggled his arms, jingle, jangle. He could not roll over. He was truly stuck. A little sigh, which sounded like a tiny whistle through his helmet, escaped him. This was not brave. This was not helpful. He was stuck on the dark path, and he could not get up. Now, can you be very, very quiet, listeners? Can you hear the tiny sounds of the forest? Because while Sir Clatter was making his big, clattery crash, many little forest creatures were watching, and they saw a knight in trouble. They did not have loud trumpets or fiery torches. They did not have big, strong arms to lift him, but they had something else. They had helpful hearts. The first to arrive was a little firefly, no bigger than one of the buttons on Sir Clatter's tunic. She did not buzz loudly. She did not shout, "I'm here to help." She simply floated down, a tiny, silent speck of light in the darkness. She hovered right in front of Sir Clatter's helmet, right where his eyes were looking out through the little slit. And then she flickered. One small, gentle pulse of soft, yellow light. Blink. It was a quiet, tiny hello. It was a little signal that said, "When I see you." Sir Clatter stopped his wiggling. He watched the little light. Blink. It was a very helpful light because in the deep dark, even the tiniest light is a wonderful friend. The little firefly did not stop there. She flew a small circle around Sir Clatter's helmet, and then she zipped away down the path, her light becoming a tiny, bobbing beacon. She was showing him the way once he could get up. But Sir Clatter was still stuck. He was still on his back. The little firefly's light was a wonderful help for seeing, but he still needed help with moving. That is when the second quiet helper arrived. From under a nearby fern, a family of pillbugs, all rolled up in their little gray suits, decided to uncurl and get to work. They did not march with drums. They did not call out, "We are strong." They simply began to move, one tiny step at a time. They scurried silent as whispers over to the big, round shoulder plate of Sir Clatter's armor that was digging into the moss. They began to wiggle and push and nudge the earth underneath it. They were so small and their work was so quiet. There was no big sound, just the soft, scratchy sound of many, many tiny feet moving tiny grains of dirt. Scritch, scratch. Scritch, scratch. They were loosening the ground, making a little space so the armor would not be stuck so tight. It was a very helpful act, because sometimes the biggest problems need the smallest pushes to be solved. Sir Clatter felt the earth shift just a little under his shoulder. He gave a small experimental wiggle. Clink. The armor moved a tiny, tiny bit more than before. The pillbugs, with their quiet, scratching help, were making a difference, but he was still not free. He needed one more kind of help. High above in an old oak tree, a silvery, patient friend had been watching. It was Mother Owl, with her big, wise eyes that could see everything in the dark. She saw the little firefly's light. She saw the pillbugs scratching. She saw the knight who was trying to be brave. She did not let out a loud, scary hoot. She did not swoop down with a great flap of her wings. Instead, she leaned forward ever so slightly on her branch. And from her beak, she let out a sound. But it was not a hoot. It was the softest, gentlest, most whispering sound. It was a breeze through feathers. It was the sound of quiet encouragement. Hoo-woo! It went so soft, it was almost like a thought. But it was a helpful sound. It was a sound that said, "You can do it. Try again." It was a sound that filled Sir Clatter with a warm feeling of courage. Hearing that soft, wise sound, feeling the loosened earth from the pillbugs, and seeing the tiny, blinking light of the firefly showing him the way, Sir Clatter knew it was time to try. He took a deep breath that made his armor go squeak. He rocked his body just a little. Clunk. He rocked again, a little harder. Clank. He remembered the quiet help all around him, and with one big final rock, he pushed with all his might. He rolled over. Crunch, clank, roll. He landed on his hands and knees, his armor settling with a final, happy jingle. He was up. He was free. He was not stuck anymore. Sir Clatter slowly got to his feet. He looked around the dark path. He could not see the pillbugs. They had already rolled back into little balls, their quiet job done. Mother Owl was just a silent silhouette against the moon. But the little firefly was still there, her light going blink-blink just a little way ahead. Sir Clatter understood now. The help he needed had never been loud or big or bright. It had been quiet and small and gentle. It had been a blink, a scratch, a whisper. But put together, it was the brightest, most powerful help he could ever imagine. He felt a new feeling inside his clanky suit. It was not just happiness to be unstuck. It was a warm, glowy feeling of wanting to be helpful himself in his own way. He knew he could not be quiet like his new friends, but he could be helpful like them. He began to walk down the path, following the tiny, blinking light of the firefly. But now he was not just walking home. He was looking for ways to be a quiet helper knight. His armor still went clink and clank and clatter with every step, but now it was a happy sound. Soon he saw a way to help. A little caterpillar was in the middle of the path, trying to cross to get to a juicy leaf on the other side. The path was like a wide, wide road for the tiny caterpillar. Sir Clatter did not shout, "I will save you!" He did not stomp over and make a big noise. He remembered the quiet help. He carefully stepped to the side of the path. Then he reached out with his clanky metal glove and broke off the big, juicy leaf from the other side. He was very careful, moving slowly so he wouldn't scare the little caterpillar. He gently laid the leaf right in front of the caterpillar's little feet. The caterpillar, surprised and happy, immediately crawled onto the leaf for a tasty snack. Sir Clatter had helped, without any loud noise at all. Well, except for a little clank when he broke the leaf, but it was a helpful clank. Further down the path, he saw another chance to help. A family of thirsty ants were trying to reach a dewdrop on a tall blade of grass, but it was too high for them. They were scurrying around at the bottom, looking for a way up. Sir Clatter had an idea. He carefully knelt down, which made his knees go creak, creak. He pointed one of his metal fingers at the dewdrop. The cool metal of his glove touched the dewdrop, and a wonderful thing happened. The dewdrop, feeling the coolness, began to slide. It slid slowly, slowly down the blade of grass, down his metal finger, and right onto the ground in a tiny, perfect puddle right in front of the ants. The ants cheered in their tiny ant way and began to drink. Sir Clatter had been a quiet helper again. With every quiet help he gave, the warm, glowy feeling inside him grew brighter and brighter. He realized that the sound of helpfulness was not a loud sound. It was not a crash or a bang or a boom. It was a quiet, bright feeling that grew in your heart and made you want to shine for others. Finally, following the faithful blink of the little firefly, Sir Clatter saw a familiar sight. It was the friendly, glowing window of his own little cottage. The path was no longer dark and scary. It was a path full of friends and quiet help. The little firefly did one last happy blink right next to his door and then zipped away into the night. A tiny, bright thank you. Sir Clatter waved a clanky goodbye. He opened his cottage door and went inside, his armor making a final, cheerful jingle-jangle as he shut the door against the night. He was home. He took off his helmet with a soft pop. He felt brave and happy and very, very helpful. He knew now that you don't need to be loud to be a good helper. The smallest, quietest acts of kindness can be the very brightest lights on the darkest paths. And the sound of helpfulness is never loud, but it is always, always bright. What shall we learn about in our next adventure? Will we learn about sharing with others? Or maybe about being patient? Join us next time to find out. Moral core. The sound of helpfulness is never loud, but always bright. emphasizing that true help is found in gentle, selfless acts, not grand gestures.